There's a weed growing in your front lawn right now that field medics use to heal burns, stop bleeding, and treat infected wounds across 5 American wars. Not a plant you have to search for in a forest or dig up from a riverbank. A weed that grows through sidewalk cracks, pushes up through gravel driveways, and spreads across every neglected patch of ground from Maine to California. You have walked past it thousands of times. You have probably pulled it out of your garden and thrown it in the trash. And every time you did, you threw away something that a Civil War field surgeon would have recognized immediately as one of the most useful plants in his entire medical kit. The plant is called broadleaf plantain, a low-growing weed, with oval-ribbed leaves that appears in lawns, roadsides, and disturbed soil across virtually every temperate region on Earth. It costs nothing because it grows everywhere for free. A single leaf pulled from the ground, crushed between 2 rocks, and applied directly to a burn or wound provides documented anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, and tissue healing action that modern pharmaceutical research has now confirmed at the molecular level. The global wound care and skincare treatment market generates over $30 billion in annual revenue. Every product in that market depends on you not looking down at the ground beneath your feet and recognizing what is already there. This is the story of plantain, the most overlooked field. Medicine in human history, the weed that armies trusted for 1,000 years, and the free survival resource the skincare industry has spent decades teaching you to treat as trash. Welcome to Forbidden Camping. Subscribe and hit the bell. This is where we open the vaults the industry paid to seal forever. Let me take you back to where this all begins. The year is approximately 900 AD in Anglo-Saxon England. A healer working in a monastery near Canterbury is treating a farmer with a badly burned forearm from an iron tool left too long in a forge fire. The healer walks outside, pulls several broad leaves from a low plant growing at the edge of the courtyard, bruises them between his hands until the juice runs green and lays them directly over the burned skin. The Anglo-Saxon medical text Bald's Leech Book, compiled around 900 AD and preserved at the British Library, lists plantain, called waybread in Old English, as a standard treatment for burns, wounds, and skin inflammation. It appears not as an exotic remedy, but as an everyday resource assumed to be within arm's reach of anyone who needed it. The knowledge reaches back much further. Dioscorides, the Greek physician who served in the Roman military under Emperor Nero and wrote De Materia Medica, the foundational text of European pharmacology used for over 1,500 years, documented plantain as a treatment for burns and wounds in the 1st century AD. He was not recording a new discovery. He was documenting a plant that Greek and Roman healers had already been using for generations. The continuity of knowledge about this single plant runs from ancient Greece through Rome, through medieval Europe without a single gap in the written record. In North America, indigenous communities developed the same understanding entirely on their own using native plantain species. After European settlers introduced broadleaf plantain to North America, the plant spread so aggressively that some Native American nations called it white man's footprint. The 2 knowledge traditions merged. The Cherokee, the Iroquois, and the Ojibwe all incorporated broadleaf plantain into their medical practice, documented in ethnobotanical records compiled by researchers in the 19th century. The American Civil War brought plantain into large-scale documented military use. Confederate field medics cut off from pharmaceutical supplies by the Union naval blockade turned to plantain poultices as a primary burn and wound treatment. Union regimental surgeons documented the same in field notes preserved at the National Archives, not as a last resort, as a first choice that experienced field surgeons trusted from direct observation across thousands of cases. Here is exactly why it works. And this is the part that makes the modern skincare formulation industry deeply uncomfortable to discuss openly. Broadleaf plantain contains 3 primary active compounds that work together in a way no single synthetic ingredient in a commercial burn gel fully replicates. The first is allantoin, a compound that directly stimulates cell proliferation and accelerates the regeneration of damaged skin tissue at the wound site. Allantoin is so well documented as a skin healing agent that it appears as an active ingredient in Eucerin, Aquaphor, and dozens of other major skincare brands, generating hundreds of millions in annual revenue. The manufacturers just do not tell you where it originally came from, or that you can get it for free by walking across your lawn. The second compound is aucubin, an iridoid glycoside with documented anti-inflammatory properties, confirmed in a 2000 study published in Phytotherapy Research, showing potency comparable to several synthetic anti-inflammatory compounds in over-the-counter topical treatments. The third is actioside, which carries direct antimicrobial activity against Staphylococcus aureus, the bacteria responsible for the majority of infected wound cases in field environments. A comprehensive review published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology in 2014 analyzed over 60 years of published research on broadleaf plantain and concluded that the combination of these 3 compounds Working together produced synergistic healing effects that individually isolated synthetic versions could not fully replicate. The review recommended further clinical investigation. That recommendation has not produced a single mainstream consumer product built around the whole plant, because you cannot patent a weed that grows through sidewalk cracks and charges no licensing fee. The global topical wound care and skin repair market generates over $8 billion annually in the United States alone. Every product on that shelf depends on a commercial principle the industry has spent decades reinforcing. You must not recognize free alternatives. You must believe that effective treatment requires a branded compound formulated in a laboratory and sold in a plastic tube with a clinical sounding name on the label. Allantoin, the primary active healing compound in plantain, is listed as an active ingredient in Eucerin and Aquaphor, products recommended by dermatologists across the country, generating hundreds of millions in annual revenue. The allantoin in those products is synthesized industrially from uric acid because synthetic allantoin can be patented in its specific formulation, manufactured at scale and protected behind proprietary processes that keep production costs low and retail prices high. The natural source cannot be owned, cannot be patented, and cannot be removed from the ground beneath your feet by any legal or commercial mechanism. So the industry extracted the active ingredient, synthesized it industrially, repackaged it in a premium container, and spent marketing budgets ensuring the original source never crosses your mind when you stand in the pharmacy aisle choosing which $30 tube to buy. A man who recognizes plantain growing through the sidewalk crack outside, that pharmacy is not their customer. And a man who is not their customer is a problem that $30 billion in annual marketing spend exists specifically to prevent. The knowledge never fully disappeared. The U.S. Army Survival Manual, FM 21-76, lists broadleaf plantain by name as a field-usable medicinal plant for wound treatment, burn relief, and skin inflammation in survival environments, describing identification features and application method with the same matter-of-fact tone used for any other documented field skill. The Society of Ethnobiology published a survey in 2018 documenting the continued use of plantain as a primary field wound treatment among wilderness survival instructors and search and rescue teams across North America, noting it as the single most commonly used medicinal plant among experienced wilderness practitioners. A homesteader in rural Kentucky documented her family's plantain use. Across 140 cases over 12 years beginning in 2008, consistently showing healing outcomes on par with commercial topical treatments. Her records circulated widely in homesteading communities and have never appeared in a publication carrying pharmaceutical advertising. Here is exactly what to do. Broadleaf plantain grows as a low rosette of oval leaves 2 to 8 inches long, with distinctive parallel veins running the full length of each leaf. The veins are fibrous and stringy. Tear a leaf slowly and you will see the fibers pull away like threads. It grows in lawns, roadsides, garden edges, and any disturbed soil across virtually all of North America, and is almost certainly within 50 feet of wherever you are right now. For burns and minor wounds in the field, pull 2 or 3 mature leaves from the plant. Fold and bruise them firmly between your fingers until the juice runs and the tissue breaks down, or crush them on a clean rock until you have a wet green poultice. Apply the crushed leaf material directly to the burn or wound surface and hold it in place with a strip of cloth. For burns, the cooling. Moisture of the crushed leaf provides immediate relief while allantoin and aucubin begin anti-inflammatory and healing action within minutes. Replace with fresh leaves every 2 to 4 hours. Most users report significant reduction in burn pain and inflammation within the first hour of application. Total cost, $0. Availability, everywhere. Shelf life. It grows back every season without any help from you. An Anglo-Saxon healer in 900 AD walked outside a monastery in Canterbury, pulled leaves from a weed growing at the edge of the courtyard, and laid them on a burned forearm. He did not consult a supply catalog or wait for a shipment from a pharmaceutical distributor. He looked at the ground around him and recognized what was growing there for exactly what it was, a resource the land provided freely to anyone with the knowledge to use it correctly. A Confederate field medic in 1863 treated a burn wound with plantain leaves gathered from the edge of a Virginia field because the naval blockade had cut off his supply of prepared compounds, and the plant was right there. Identifiable, accessible, and effective. The plant had not changed. The chemistry had not changed. Only the commercial environment around it had changed, built specifically to ensure the knowledge did not pass to the next generation with the same reliability it had maintained for 1,000 years before. $30 billion in annual wound care revenue depends on you walking across your lawn without looking down. It depends on you pulling that oval-leafed weed out by the roots and reaching instead for a $30 tube containing a synthesized version of the same compound the plant was already producing for free. Subscribe and share this video. Every share reaches a man who will never look at his lawn the same way again, and who will walk Into any field in America, knowing the land around him has always been more generous than any industry wanted him to believe.